This podcast is brought to you by Free Buddhist Audio, the Dharma for your life. Our work is funded entirely by donations from our generous listeners. If you would like to help us keep this free, make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. Thank you, and happy listening.
So I'll read you Sangharakshita's poem, The Four Gifts. And then you can hear me interviewing him about this poem on Free Buddhist Audio. And also it's all these interviews that I did with him with his poems have been transcribed and now they're in the complete works. So this is the poem. I come to you with four gifts. The first gift is a lotus flower. Do you understand? My second gift is a golden net. Can you recognize it? My third gift is a shepherd's round dance. Do your feet know how to dance? My fourth gift is a garden planted in a wilderness. Could you work there? I come to you with four gifts. Dare you accept them? So I say to him, after I've read this poem to him, I say to him, this is a poem that you wrote in 1975 when the order and the movement was still quite young. And he replies, when the order was 6 years old. I thought I would have a sabbatical. It turned out to be a 6-month sabbatical, but not a whole year, which is what he'd originally hoped. I wrote that poem, I think it was in a connection with the fact that I was going away, because this was the legacy that I was leaving to people as I left for my sabbatical. These four gifts, that's my legacy. So I ask him, when you're saying the first line, I come to you with four gifts, you're the I in that line. And then he says, and by you, I mean order members and mitras and friends coming along to the centre. It's to them I'm offering these gifts. It could be understood in a wider sense as being addressed to people in general, whoever is able to accept these gifts. And then I go through the gifts, the gifts of the lotus flower, which is to do with self-development. Yeah? And he says here, I say, do you understand? When I hold up the lotus flower, I say, do you understand? It's not just for amusement. It's not just entertainment. It's about personal development. You don't come to one of our centres to socialise. You come to do serious things. You come to learn to meditate, to understand the Dharma, and this is ultimately in the interest of your personal development. Do you understand this? Not everybody does at first. Some people, like the people at the centre, want to see more of them. They think more in terms of friendship in the ordinary sense and a bit more social life. But this isn't what it's all about. It's about personal development in the very best and most positive sense. Then we go into the next line. My second gift is a golden net. Can you recognise it? And here he talks about philosophy of Buddhism. It's like he's offering something that's all the teachings are interconnected, and it captures you. And he's saying, do you recognise it as something that can captivate you and capture you in the most positive way? People are crying out for some sort of understanding of how this all works. Yeah? Why do people suffer? Why do wars happen? They want to know what is the meaning of all this? How are we supposed to face it? Yeah? And he says we need to have a kind of quality of vision, a real quality of vision, a philosophy that will hold us in the world and allow us to live our lives well within it. Then he said the third gift that he brings is a shepherd's round dance. He's a strange man at times. And he says, do your feet know how to dance? And then I draw him out a bit and say, I think it's the order, or maybe it's just the Sangha. It's about people dancing together. It's quite interesting, thinking of what we're trying to create between us as a dance. And Sangharakshita says, I think dance is an important symbol because it suggests something we enjoy. I'm not quite sure what a round dance is, he says, but it's clearly something people do together. Yeah? And he talks about how important it is to just enjoy it, enjoy coming together, enjoy sharing this project, enjoy sharing the project of creating the Sangha. He says, I think enjoyment is the key note to this verse, this line. And then later he says, I think a round dance is something that returns to itself. It goes through certain motions again and again, perhaps with other people joining in. The dance goes on, but the people dancing change, which is quite interesting. In some dances, you change partners, and if you have different partners in the dance, that whitens your experience. But then I ask the question, do your feet know how to dance? He says, I don't ask, do you know how to dance? I say, do your feet know how to dance? In other words, it's as though dancing is instinctive. It's a natural thing. And then the fourth gift. My fourth gift is a garden planted in a wilderness. Could you work there? So this is quite a lot. This is like an allotment, this shrine room. It's a long, narrow sort of allotment thing. Yeah, it's a garden in the wilderness of Cardiff. And Bhante says, I suppose the wilderness is of the wilderness of the world. It's samsara, our ordinary social life, our domestic life, our work life, and so on. So yes, the wilderness is the world. I think nowadays we're very much aware of this world as a wilderness from all the news reports we get out of things happening in this and that part of the world. And within it, we're trying to create a garden or something beautiful and inspiring. And he says also the garden is a process of creation. We start off with a few seeds, a little patch of ground, and we plant those seeds. But gardeners are needed. Rather than waiting for it to be completed by others, could you be one that helps the garden grow? See, this is working against the passivity. Don't just come here and think you're just going to receive. Contribute, yeah? In other words, in a spiritual movement like Triratna, you don't just go along to the centre or other activities and passively take things in. It's part of the growing process to get involved, to dig the garden, to plant the seeds. You become a fellow gardener. And later he also says, but we have to see the wilderness as the wilderness, which is that vision in the way of the ball. He sees the wilderness in that ball, and he knows a garden needs to be planted somewhere. So he says, accepting these gifts has implications. It makes a demand upon you. Do you understand that you're an individual who can grow and develop? Do you see the Dharma, the different aspects of the Buddha's teaching are all interconnected and give you a whole philosophy of life? Do you see that involvement with the Dharma is something that you can enjoy? You have to enjoy. And do you see that the movement is like a garden where we can cultivate ourselves and help others to cultivate themselves? And where we need to work on the garden, which means also working on ourselves. So I say to him, so when you say, I come to you with 4 gifts, it's not so much you, but us. We are coming to other people with these 4 gifts. And he says, yes, the 4 gifts are being passed on. We don't create the garden just so that we can play in it ourselves, but so other people can come and enjoy it too, and eventually work there too. So how different would it be for all of us to see the Sangha as a gift, to accept that gift and see it as something beautiful that needs developing? A gift to us individually and also a gift to Cardiff or to the world. A garden in the wilderness. It means seeing it as precious, something rare, something that's been created between us, something that is a whole context for our lives that we can trust. Now, how do we bring it into being? A context like that is trustworthy, loving and meaningful. That is a question for all of us to answer, yeah? Individually and collectively. And to know that creating Sangha, to know that as one of the most rewarding projects you can be involved with.
We hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. Please help us keep this free. Make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. And thank you.